It's story time. Look, this is the story time I've been avoiding telling because this is where it all started a long time ago. I'm telling you, coming out of a 13-year marriage and then you first start dating and it's all bad and then it's all good. This is the story time I was hesitant to tell, but this is a story time I needed to tell. Let's get into it. Let's go all the way back. Let's roll back the clock. Almost 11 years ago. So coming out of a divorce, and I always tell people, even the people I counsel now, like about dating, like when you first come out of a divorce, that first serious relationship is going to be either tragic or success. It'd be either horribly bad or it just be perfect. So honestly, this is a combination of both. So I started going to this church. I would meet, people at church or whatnot. And when you were a single eligible man and you go into church, you're sort of like a hot commodity, right? Sidebar, I'm on my way to Target tonight, but I need to fix this hat. Sometimes when you leave them hanging or, just don't wear them a lot, the brim gets a little crooked. So I'm about to fix this brim so I can get ready to go on my Target stroll. See, this is a nice one, baby. Look at that velvet band. Teardrop in the middle. You already know what it is, right? Get a little steam. And you just want to go around just getting that thing back down. You really want to put a towel down under this, but I'm just going to hit it real quick just to get it back on track. I'm going. Just to get it back on track. You should have. You already know what it is, right? You still gotta make sure that thing is thangin'. You know what I'm saying? You still gotta make sure it's thangin'. So I meet this girl at church and we sort of casually, hey, how you doing? Da-da-da-da-da, nothing too serious. She was always with this dude and I thought it was just her boyfriend or whatever. After one service, I got a friend request from her. I accepted the friend request. I mean, she was gorgeous, but I just assumed she had a boyfriend because this dude was always with her. I accept the friend request. I'm pretty, funny or silly on social media, posting memes, conversations, different things like that. This is before the podcasting. This is when I came out of radio and before, a few things got going. She would comment on my post, like everything I posted. I would see her in church, never said nothing, right? Then I made this relationship post about if you single and you really, how do you shoot your shot in church or something like that? Something funny, but I made it funny. And she inboxed me and I was like, okay, I always see her with this guy. So I'm thinking this is her man. Put it on me. And she was just like, well, you never reached out to me, LOL. And I was like, well, I kind of felt like you had a boyfriend because the dude that was always with you. And she was like, no, that's just my friend. We just go to church together. He ride with me from time to time, but no, we not in a relationship or anything like that. Me, shot was shooting. I got her number, started talking to her. We went out on a couple dates. She came over to the house. Everything moved so fast. Our relationship was basically I already knew her. It was dope. That's the best thing I could say is from the initial concept of us getting together, everything just was dope. And then it was. Now we talking heavy. We going out, we hanging, she coming over my house, we hanging out, we talking heavy. And she disappeared, MIA. Don't answer her phone, don't answer inboxes for 2 weeks, just MIA. So I drove past her crib, nothing, didn't see her. I'm thinking at this point, should I call the police? You know what I'm saying? What's going on? MIA. She stopped going to the church. She stopped everything. I reached out to one of her friends on Facebook. She was like, I ain't talked to her either, Tom. So this went on for about 2, maybe 3 weeks. No contact. Then all of a sudden, 4 o'clock in the morning, she calls me and she's like, hey, what you doing? I'm like, sleep? What's up with you? Where you been? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, what's going on? She's like, it's a lot I got to fill you up on, something spiritual, it's really amazing happened. And, I just want to let you know, like, I see such a beautiful future for us. And, God is this and God is that and God is that. And now, don't get me wrong, I love the Lord, but I grew up real strange. Like, half of my family was like Church of God in Christ. Half of my family was Jehovah's Witnesses. So, yeah, I had a difficult upbringing when it came to the church and spirituality in general, period. So when somebody became overly, instantaneously obsessive with spirituality, sometimes that was just like weirding me out a little bit. She tells me this story that her brother basically was starting his own church, and she had went to his service. Now, up until this point, her and her brother were sort of estranged, but she felt like she, needed to go to his, first church service or whatever. So he has this church service, and it's probably about 15 or 17 people, friends and family, people like that come to this service. He, starts speaking in tongues, and God is telling me this, and he's prophesizing over people. And basically what he did was he said God told him to ordain these people as ministers in his ministry. So he ordained like 12 people in the service, and she was one of them, to be ministers in his ministry. And so in my head, I know, you could be a minister, anything, whatever. But, before you go out there preaching and teaching, you should get some form of education in that field. If y'all disagree, y'all don't, let me know in the comments. So she basically is like, yeah, I'm an ordained minister now in my brother's church. I'm a member now, and, and this and the third, and this and the third. And I was like, so he just started a church, like he just that water church. And she was like, yeah, everything's just, it's just really amazing. And, I feel the spirit of the Lord, and everything he says and does, he's really anointed. I kind of thought it was fishy, but I try not to down a person's spirituality. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's entitled. There are some sharks in the water. And then she tells me there's 12 other people he made minister, and everything's great, and we're all happy, and they were all going to contribute and, really strengthen the ministry. And then, she called me a contribute. I was like, so contribute? Do tell. And she was just like, yeah, what I'm saying? So basically, with us being, the bare bones of the church, my brother wants us to contribute, $300 a week, to the ministry. I'm going to get into the brother, because to this day, we got beef. She didn't make a lot in her job, and $300 was a true hardship for her. But she agreed to it, to help strengthen her brother's ministry. 12 people contributing, $300 a week to a ministry you just started, and you as the quote unquote pastor ain't even the crew leader at McDonald's where you work. A 35-year-old fry cook at McDonald's. You got people paying you $300 a week to go to your church. You just added water and started. Okay. I see where this is going. I was like, let me see what happens. I don't want to judge too quickly or whatever. She has such a good heart. Like, she has such a good heart. So understanding, so forgiving, so encouraging. So, like, she had a lot of qualities. Like, I find women with great criteria, like great jobs, great careers, assets, and things like that. But they don't always have that nurturing spirit, that ability to care for a man, not love a man, care for a man. People be in love with you, but they really don't know how to care for you, if that makes any sense. She had this weird ability and aura just to bring joy and light into a room. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, she is really like a good girl. But in that moment, the whole situation just seemed real fishy. And every time I would press her on it, she would get a little, aggravated. This first week came when they were supposed to contribute the money. And so just after tax time or whatever. And so people, I guess half the people contributed. Next week come around, a quarter of the people contributed. By like week 3, she was the only person contributing. So her brother was like, hey, if people can't contribute, the others got to pick up the slack. You know what I'm saying? God don't put too much on you that you can't handle. Now, in my head, he, of course, knew she had just got her taxes. So he knew she had that extra amount of money, and he was pressing her spiritually to get that money out of her. And he did. He got it out of her. So about maybe like a half a month later, she called me and she was just like, hey, I'm in a bind. I got an eviction notice. And so she was about to get evicted. And I knew the direct byproduct of why she was about to get evicted was her brother in this fly-by-night ministry, right? So this is the first time I just did something I never had done before, and I helped her out. But at the time, it's like I knew me helping her out was really helping him out, and that bothered me. So I stopped her from getting evicted, but we broke up. Like I told her, like, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? I'll help you out here and there, but I mean, this right here, but yeah, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? Maybe a week go by, we texting still, whatever. She come over, things happen or whatnot, and we be right back together. Like, you know what I'm saying? And he just used to he used to frustrate my soul because it's like she was so spiritually vulnerable to everything and his shenanigans. So she's like, well, you just got to come here and preach. You just got to come here and preach. You know what I'm saying? We having Bible study over at his house. You know what I'm saying? You should come over. So I'm like, okay. Now, this man been getting all this money from these people at this church. But we get to the apartment. It's like a 1-bedroom, like efficiency. And it's the summertime. And he like had the heat on like 75 and it was like 80 degrees outside. So it's like a whole hot box in this apartment. And I'm like, as soon as I walk in, I'm like, shit, like what the hell? Like, you know what I'm saying? Why is the heat on? And he's sweating. You know what I'm saying? He's sweating. Everybody's sweating. And he's like, we bringing in the spirit of the Lord. We trying to galvanize our spirits. And I'm like, y'all trying to die? That's what you're trying to do. So I sort of was late. I missed up the time or whatever. I was sort of late. They already had started. So they like in the root of Bible study. And so he going on about Bible study and his betrothment. And I'm like, betrothment, what? He was like, yes, I've been, a woman has been betrothed to me. I'm like, in my heart of hearts, I'm like, where's she going? You live in a 1-bedroom closet, sir. You are manipulating people out of their hard-earned funds. And you about to get married? And it's like, he was basically trying to explain to us like how it's like 2 or 3 churches that want to marry a daughter off to him. And I'm like, caught much? But it is the smaller churches, the smaller like grassroots situations. This is what goes down in this subculture of church. And I was blown away. So after that day, we had another talk. She got a little aggravated and we broke up again. And we would break up like all the time. Like we get back together, we break up, we get back together, break up. But it was always because of her brother. Like always because of her brother. Every time I would think it was going to work out, it would be something he would do or say. So they had church on Sunday and he like prophesized over her in front of the whole church and basically told her that, her husband wasn't the man she was going to ever be in love with. Or something like that. Something to that effect, right? Now, this whole time, remember how I told y'all at the beginning that other dude that was always with her, but wasn't her dude? He joined the church. He became the pastor's armor bearer or whatever. And so, when I think back on it, I was like, because where this story go, y'all gonna be like, Tom, how did you even get here, right? I go out of town to do a photography job at a church down south. While I'm doing the job, a spiritual leader down there, I'm not going to say who it was, pulled me to the side. He was like, man, I see something on you. I see you got some stuff going on, you know what I'm saying? And I tell him about the situation, and he's like, look, I can tell you this as a man of God, or I can just tell you this as a homie in the streets. You can make this work, but it'll ruin your life. Or you could walk away from it, and if it do work, it'll be God's will. Because she's never going to change the way her heart is spiritually. So I call her at this particular time. I call her, I'm down in Florida. She's telling me that this family had came into her job, basically told the story how their house just caught on fire and they didn't have anything, and they didn't have insurance, and how they were just trying to, put some money together so they can stay in the hotel because, the Red Cross is only going to pay for one more night at the hotel. So she felt conflicted being this newly anointed minister, you know what I'm saying? And she literally gave them her paycheck, you know what I'm saying? And her whole paycheck. She gave them her whole paycheck. She called me and told me, and I was just like, man, that sounds like a scam. She was like, no, it's not a scam, Tom. Sometimes you just got to do the right thing. You got to do the right thing. God puts it on our hearts to do. I'm like, look, that sounds like a scam. Y'all might want to call, the police or whatever. She's like, I'm not calling the police. Sure enough, police end up calling her job looking for those people because they've been doing it up and down the street, and they done got thousands of dollars from these companies or whatever. So, she felt stupid, in that moment, but she felt like she did what God wanted her to do. That's when I realized she was spiritually vulnerable, and she can be manipulated. She can be twisted. She can be anything if the right person spiritually say something to her. And I was like, I can't build a relationship with somebody like that. And I broke up with her. And I broke up with her for good that time. When I came back home, she was at my house, you know what I'm saying? And she had brought me some food, and she was telling me how mad her brother was that she gave away her check, and how he told her that was dumb. And I bet you he was all like, you've been led astray. You've been running amok. You let them people take all of my money. I mean, all of your money. Why'd you do it? I need the money. Greasy pastor, greasy. So she took my key off her ring, start crying or whatnot. We did some adult things, and she left. Now, this is right before my birth. So this is probably like the end of August. September 5th, Virgo's in the building, yo. And I have this weird thing where I literally never have a significant other on my birthday. It's weird. Or it's something about to fall apart or casual, nothing serious, right? My birthday come, maybe the beginning of October, mid-October, I get a phone call from the guy that was, the armor bearer, the guy she was always with in church and, all that stuff. So he calls me and he's like, hey, big dog, I need a favor. I'm like, what's up? We was casual, but I didn't, definitely not homies, right? And so he hey, I know you and old girl had, a real serious relationship and a bond and love that y'all probably, never gonna be able to get rid of and all this stuff. But I was wondering if you would come to church and perform a soul tie so she could move on. And I'm like, a soul what tie, nigga? What? A soul ties break. You know what I'm saying? Cause ever since we got married, and I'm like, got married? I'm just like, I know she ain't married this. Y'all. So the pastor convinced her to marry the dude. She marries the dude, still in love with me. He know it. The pastor know it, but they needed to get me out the way so they can hatch their diabolical plot, I guess. So make a long story short, I'm on the phone with him and I'm like, look, you married a woman who was in love with another man. You gonna have to be a man and live with that. It's not my responsibility to fix your marriage. So get off the phone with him. She called me 20 minutes later, sort of whimpering, telling me how things happen and all this stuff. But honestly, I just wasn't really trying to hear it. And I wasn't trying to be mean, but I just had to get off the phone with her because it's in that moment, it didn't matter what she was really trying to say. You know what I'm saying? I'm moving on. She moving on. It's just over. Let it be over. And for a long time, I'll be honest and vulnerable in this moment. I used to judge women based upon my relationship with her because she was a natural nurturer, carer, just a good-hearted person. Now, on the flip side, she was very naive, very gullible, and spiritually vulnerable. But those qualities that made me actually love her were qualities I didn't see in a lot of women. Now, I meet good women. I meet women with great criteria, great assets, great jobs, careers, things of that nature, but they really don't know how to care for a man. And I had a woman tell me that not too long ago. She was just like, I know how to have sex. I know how to do this. I know how to do that, but I really don't know how to care for a man. I had to get to a point, just me as a man, to understand what I need from a woman versus what I want from a woman. And at the end of the day, I need to be happy. I need to have loyalty. I need to be able to trust, and I need to be able to rely on that person. And if you can find those things, it doesn't matter if they make $2 million a year or $2. You can build something with a person like that. We need to take a step back and find out what really works for us as individuals. A lot of people always say, Tom, you got so much courage and to keep dating. And my thing is, you can't sit back and not date and not try and then blame the world for everything. You just can't do it. You got to pick a struggle. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to keep trying until I find the person that fits my puzzle, because my puzzle has a whole bunch of crazy pieces. I'm not a perfect person. I stopped looking for perfect a long time ago. Like, I'm looking for happy. I'm looking for peace. I'm looking for some building blocks to build with. This may not have been the most funniest, story time, but this was the one I had to tell. If you've been through one of these situations, leave it in the comments. If you understand where I'm coming from, leave it in the comments. This was the story time I had to tell. I had to get off my chest. I'll see you in the next one.